These are the top 5 reasons why your account sucks. And if you are guilty of any of these top 5s, leave a like on this video, comment where you're guilty, and let's hopefully help each other in the comments. What's up guys, my name is Major. First things first, gear. You are not selective enough when you choose the gear you're going to build and end up wasting gold. The gear substat priority, regardless of what gear type you are building, is speed, accuracy, evasion. These are the 3 main ones. You need to have at least 1 minimum, ideally 2, right? If you are going attack build, you have speed, accuracy. If you are going a more defensive build, you have speed, evasion. Okay, and then you have the second line of substats choices. You have crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, HP percentage. You only need 1 or 2 of these. You don't need all of them. Ideally, at the end of the day, on your piece of gear, you want to have 3 stats. You want to have either speed, accuracy, some form of crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, HP percentage, depending on what you're building. But you always want to have 3 of the primary stats, substats that you want, and then 1 bad stat. If you can get 4 of these highly coveted, fantastic stats, all the best to you, especially if you can get them at good rolls, like high rolls at that. But if you can get 3 of them at decently high rolls, we're talking about 2 rolls or 3 rolls on all of those are the types of gears that you can continue to start to build. Anything lower than 2 rolls, just count it off. Pretend it's a bad stat. It doesn't count as one of the good stats anymore. It's a bad stat. But if you get 3 of the other good rolls, then it's still fine. You can continue to build that. As long as speed has a 2 roll or more, because you're trying to get at least, if you can have the possibility to get your speed to plus 18 before you start rolling, you need to do that. Because if your gear piece has no chance of getting to plus 18 based on RNG, there's no point in rolling that, right? Even if you don't get to 18, even if you miss, you'll get to 15. If you miss, you might get to 12. Either way, right? Number 2, you are trying too hard to build gear based on what other people are building, but you forget that our accounts are different. We are not playing the same game. The RNG in gear farming, crafting, and upgrading is so great that 2 accounts could have the same units, while the actual viability of certain units be night and day. Just because Joe Schmo can run max evasion Hanbuli and solo teams in arena defense doesn't mean you can do the same. This is important to remember. Build according to your strengths, understand the kind of RNG that you have, what kind of gear you are rolling, how your gear is rolling, and the types of gear you are getting, right? Understand that and build accordingly. Number 3, you just don't have enough good units on your account. While we can talk all day about gear and what to build, how not to build it, sometimes you just don't have enough good units. And if that's the case, unless you are a new player, you've been using your summoning resources wrong, right? Leave chasing 4 and 6 star radar banner units for the whales. You get 1 copy and dip. When it comes to premium units, the cliff notes are you get a minimum 4-star unit and dip. Call it a day. I have a video somewhere on my channel talking about resource management. It will be linked in the description. I really don't want to get into that. Number 4, you are not saving enough gold to upgrade your gems. You need a lot of gold to upgrade your gems, upwards of 40 million plus, depending on how many gems you are upgrading at a given point. Gems are the single best way to augment your stat lines to reach certain thresholds, and the higher the level of your gems are, the more stats you can get. They are effectively stat selectors. Going from stage 1 to stage 6 is not recommended though, right? Admittedly so, right? Mainly because you're going to lose desirable gems along the way. Now, getting your gems up to stage 5 and then taking out crit hit rate, crit damage, accuracy, evasion, attack percent, and HP percent before upgrading the leftover gems to stage 6 is what I recommend. That way, the RNG of upgrading gems can only benefit you, while you use the desired stats on the stage 5 to build your characters in the meantime, versus just upgrading all your good stat gems and then you get really bad RNG rolls and all of a sudden you're sitting with a bunch of resilience and defense stage 6s. Now, is your luck that bad? Probably not, but let's not risk it. Let's rather upgrade all the crappy gems, and then we might get the chance of getting good gems at stage 6. Then we can slot those into our main characters, and then we can use the stage 5s, take those off, and then kind of push them down towards my 5th point. Number 5, you are not building every unit. You are using the same gears on more than one unit. While this is great to do in the early game, the mid game, as you farm and get more gear pieces, it's important that all your best units have their own gear. That means having multiple red weapons and accessories. Now this is the last point, because right now this is end game in Outerplane, and the gear RNG and lack of gold in the game is enough to make this task daunting. And I don't blame you if you can't even wrap your head around how would you even get started. I wouldn't blame you, because I have the same issue, except that I have it as a goal, which again, in this case, slow and steady really does win the race. Doing it slowly over time, slowly upgrading certain pieces will get you where you want to go. I'm still heavily underutilizing this point myself, but for me personally, it's just because I'm waiting for RTA and I'm building my stuff slowly and kind of like around, kind of getting my units ready so that when RTA comes in, all my units will be built, so I'm not in a rush. So I tend to not really try to build too many units, although I do upgrade every single unit when it comes to their level as well as their transcendence. Transcendence, but not transcendence. Upgrade, their upgrades. So that little circle, I try to get those things up as much as possible. And I do know that on some of the platinum levels, you can get away with murder. You can get away with a lot more than you can get away in that high diamond masters 3 level, right? So I thought this video was important because some of you guys are getting away with murder and you don't realize that the gear you guys are building will not work in Masters 3, Diamond 1, Diamond 2. Again, that's not a goal that you may have, but who knows? By the time RTA comes out, you might find a new spark for PvP. I'm just saying, let this video be a guide, let this video be a lesson. That's it from me. And remember, you don't suck at the game, you just need to get good.